don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to be curious about why something is a certain way. And I think asking questions is a really thoughtful way to kind of reveal stories about things and to understand ideas of what's accessible to you.
Hi guys, my name is Georgina. I'm from The Plug and I'm here with Meneesha today, who works at the V&A. And we are going to talk about what it means to create spaces for young people to have cultural and creative programming and events. And we're going to talk about all of those things and explain all of those things and really explore Meneesha's journey to what she actually does today. I'm all about finding creative ways to work out what the views of young people and the priorities of young people are, and using that to really inform how we create things for young people and how young people can be involved in those journeys. So the first thing I'm going to do is just ask you to talk a little bit about your role and what you actually do at the V&A.
Yeah, so my name is Meneesha Kellay and I am a curator at the V&A. I work specifically in festival programming in the design, architecture and digital department. So festivals can be anything from installations, exhibitions, workshops, talks, late night events. We do anything and everything really, and it's about opening up spaces in the museum that aren't usually accessible to the public, activating spaces in the museum, kind of collections galleries with installations and projects that have a relationship to the gallery but are also contemporary by young and emerging artists and designers.
Curation.
Oh, that's a tricky
what does that mean? I know.
That can actually mean a lot of things. You know, you can curate events, but the original kind of term curation is associated with exhibitions. So you work with an artist to plan how their work would be shown in a space. You can also curate objects within a museum or gallery setting. So that is actually looking at the history of an object, situating it in a certain time and place. There was recently an exhibition of Ashanti gold from Ghana.
Oh, I'm Ghanaian.
Are you? Yeah. So there's some really interesting objects that relate to that history. So what I'm specifically interested in is taking these objects that almost conform a landscape in a museum setting. You walk into a museum and it feels like the objects are just part of the furniture, but actually they have a history and they belong in a certain time and place. So yeah, Ashanti gold belonged to Ashanti kings. You know, there's a long history of what those specific objects mean to people personally. So I think curation is about teasing those histories and those narratives out, so you as a Ghanaian can go there, or a British Ghanaian can go there and be like, that's my history, that I relate to that object very personally.
When you were studying, or when you were, I guess you were applying to study architecture, like how did you know you wanted to study architecture? Was there a moment? Was it something you'd been considering for a long time? Did someone tell you about the course? Because you said, again, that sometimes not many people know about architecture. So what was the thing that sort of hinted to you that actually this is something I want to study for 3 years?
I was looking through the UCAS book and only got as far as A. So I was like, oh, right, architecture, done. No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I would have believed you. Yeah.
No, that's
how I found out about a lot of courses at university. Like
just through the UCAS. Yeah. No, in reality, it was actually my DT teacher, my design and technology teacher. He really encouraged me. I wasn't entirely sure what to study at university, but I was really kind of interested in design, but I also had a real interest in history and theory. And as I was saying before, that architecture is a real kind of multifaceted subject. So I thought, okay, this is something that is professional, but is also quite artistic and creative. So I thought, right, okay, architecture's the one for me. I had the opportunity to do work experience. So I did a week of work experience in architecture practice in Shoreditch, which was really, really eye-opening. So I think that's always a great opportunity to learn about a profession. And so I studied, I did, it's taking me back now, but I did DT, Design Technology, history, and philosophy and ethics, which is actually, looking back at my, at the time, I was just like, okay, this is just related to my interests and not directly to architecture. But thinking about what I do now, it relates directly, because what I'm focusing on now in curation is always about kind of stories and narratives, and understanding how you can relate programming to as many people as possible, or to kind of unearth untold stories and untold narratives about a subject like architecture.
I have here in my notes like crafts and like hobbyist projects and mini projects, and I was wondering, were there any projects when you were growing up that you took part in, or perhaps any craft skills that you were developing that you could definitely see has brought you through from studying architecture at university to what you do now as a curator?
I was always very curious. I mean, I wasn't necessarily the really creative one in my family growing up, but I always had like a real curiosity about things. I wanted to know why something looked a certain way, or why something was built a certain way. So I was always asking questions. And so that's like a key bit of advice that I always give to young people when I'm talking to them is, don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to be curious about why something is a certain way. And I think asking questions is a really thoughtful way to kind of reveal stories about things, and to understand ideas of what's accessible to you. For example, architecture isn't taught in schools, so people don't know necessarily that that's an option open to them to study at university. But it is really a mixture of design, of art, of physics, of kind of understanding how a building stays up, of anthropology, of sociology, understanding how to design spaces for certain people, whether it's a community centre, whether it's a hospital, whether it's housing, kind of understanding what makes spaces healthy, and how to make a space conducive for happiness, for people to be in those spaces. So it's really it's both simple and complex, because it's going back to the basics of what makes a space work for people.